The Emergency Action Plan is a prescribed response to an emergency at a FERC-regulated hydroelectric dam. Federal Energy Regulatory Commission requires dam owners to update their EAP annually and have a full functional exercise every 5 years. The EAP must include flow charts along with contact information for dam personnel and local, state, and federal agencies that would be involved with the downstream emergency response. EAPs must also include inundation maps with estimated time travels for the flood waters. Past Wells Hydroelectric Project EAP functional exercises have been hosted at Douglas PUD's East Wenatchee headquarters. Rooms were set up with phone banks where facilitators could communicate with the developments of a hypothetical emergency at the dam. That would lead to the activation of the Emergency Action Plan. For the 2019 functional exercise, Douglas PUD partnered with Chelan and Grant PUDs to simulate an emergency that would affect their respective hydroelectric projects. Also involved in various capacities would be the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Chief Joseph Dam and the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation's Grand Coulee Dam. To more realistically simulate a 2019 emergency, players would participate from their own offices and landline phones would be accompanied by cell phone, text, email, and other online messaging. Planning began a year in advance, and the first actual meeting of the participants would be 1 week before the event at a tabletop exercise. Recent dam failures, this is one that came out mid-May, and this was down in Texas, and this was actually filmed from the weather cam from one of the local TV stations just before the spillway collapsed. But basically what they figure happened on this one is the metal fatigue on that spill gate let go. In the event of a dam failure, the whole idea of an emergency action plan is if we have a situation, how do we protect the public and all the people that live along the river and get the information out to the appropriate folks? And so that's what we're going to do. The participants were given an overview of the hydroelectric dams on the Mid-Columbia River system. EAPs were described including an explanation of various possible emergency conditions, red, yellow, green. The tabletop was wrapped up by presenting a possible emergency and having the agencies describe their probable responses, followed by a look at the website they would access during the actual play. So as you do something at your dam, on theory, put that up on the site and say, okay, we've just opened our spill gates to this section, or the generation is just tripped offline, so everybody else is seeing what you're going to be saying. The exercise controllers representing Douglas, Chelan, and Grant PUDs had created a scenario that would eventually lead to each of the PUDs initiating their respective emergency action plans. The scenario was a spill issue happening at Grand Coulee. The idea was that they had just put new equipment in and the electronics were not all tested, and so they had 5 gates instead of open to minimal spill, went full flood control spill. And it happened on a Saturday night, so it required time to get folks in.
The EAP functional exercise message, and we've received notice that Grand Coulee has an uncontrolled release of 450,000 cubic feet. We are beginning to spill down our forebay. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. We're not evacuating at this point, and we received notice from Paul at Chief Joe. So if you could head over to the control room. We are upgrading to a potential failure upstream. All right.
So we talked with Chief Joe, and they're going to be sending down 450 KCFS in the river. So we're starting to open up some of our gates to prepare for it, and we're going to have to get some mechanics in and stuff to expand our spill capacity. So
All right, well, we're here in the East Wenatchee Dispatch Center. This is Jeff Heminger, Power Operations Engineer for Dcpud. I received word from our system operator relaying some information from Wells that Wells is currently discharging 440 kCFS, and they have a goal of reaching 550, but they need to open some additional gates. We've got all of our automatic gates open, and they're using the cranes to open the manual gates, and so it could take them up to an hour and a half to finish opening the gates so that they can reach that 550 kCFS discharge. So currently we're in a situation where we have a potential failure of an upstream dam. And then one of the kind of key pieces of this that we really use in an actual emergency situation are our notification flow charts. And so there's an example of one of them. This is for imminent failure of the Wells project. And this just gives you a visual also with names and numbers for everyone that needs to be contacted, beginning with the Wells control room operator, who they would contact, and then, for instance, when they contact us here in East Wenatchee at our dispatch center, that call comes over here, and then the dispatcher is given a list of folks that they need to contact. I am our emergency action coordinator, so when I get the call from our system operators, I jump over here and I make this list of calls. So it's all prescribed and updated regularly so that we know exactly who to contact and what information to give them, and then respond to any requests for information that we get from outside groups as well.
Besides specific hydro project EAP messaging, numerous non-related messages were delivered to the various participants in order to keep them involved until they became aware of the unfolding floodwater emergency. Players were also introduced to random fake news popping up on various social media sites. To control this multi-agency virtual exercise, Dcpud developed a website where communications, activities, and responses were logged in and participants had various degrees of access to. By the afternoon, the EAP functional exercise was completed and considered a success.
So my name is Dave Hammernick. I'm with FERC, and I'm in the Portland Regional Office. And my capacity here today was to go ahead and observe and evaluate the scenario, the dam safety scenario that occurred. And in summary, I thought things went very, very well. I think the people were able to go ahead and understand their roles and responsibilities, and to see how effective they are in a dam safety emergency. And I think this exercise proved that and really helped people experience that situation. So you can tell based on how the scenario went that the team that put this together did a very, very good job and spent a lot of time doing that. So kudos to everyone involved in the exercise.
The following day, a hot wash was held at Grant PUD's Wanabum Dam hydropower offices where the functional exercise was reviewed. The purpose of the EAP is to test communication links and procedures. Participant evaluations highlighted problems, and upgrades to the plans were initiated based on what was learned during this exercise. Players had a good response to the exercise, noting it was more realistic to be able to participate at their desks during a typical workday and in conjunction with their daily responsibilities.